guys for joining us. So I'm not sure if you guys even know what the eXp Commercial Industrial Committee does, because it is a mouthful. So anyway, eXp Commercial has tasked certain brokers within the company that are asset specific specialists to head committees to support growth and mentorship in that area. So not only is there an industrial committee, there's also a multifamily committee. There's a retail committee. So we're building these committees as we grow. I think the next one to come online is going to be a business broker committee. So we're overlay support systems for you, whether you're a vintage veteran in this asset class or whether you're a novice and just want to learn a little bit more. That's what this committee is here for. We're here as a resource for you to reach out to us. We're going to be deal sharing. We're going to be talking stats and trends. And then at least once a month, we interview somebody in the industry that brings a whole different flavor and a whole different realm of meaning to everything that we do. Last week we were talking, or 2 weeks ago, we were talking about adaptive reuse, which was fascinating. In another couple of weeks, we're bringing on a legacy, family legacy investor of industrial properties. And what I love about this guy, I want to call him a kid because he's a lot younger than me, but he grew up in the industry. His mom and dad were avid commercial real estate agents, started investing in warehouse and industrial product when he was very young. So he kind of grew up like sweeping the floors and seeing the back end of how all of this worked. So not only did he get in the business, then he also decided, hey, let me get a law degree. So now he's an attorney specializing in industrial.
All right, Pam, I think you hit mute. Pam, I think you're muted. I think you hit mute.
Oh, there we are. Sorry. I said I apologize, but like Fast and Furious, you guys are coming in quick. We've got all kinds of people joining us, which I absolutely love. So that's a little bit about who we are. The first person I'm going to introduce is Jabin. And Jabin, why don't you let everybody know a little bit about what you do, what you specialize, and why you're part of the committee.
Absolutely. So Jabin Starnes here. I am a commercial broker based on the East Coast, primarily the Carolinas, but we do deals wherever. My specialty is industrial, obviously, and I am an investor as well. Put together some deals, syndicated, raise capital. That's really what I enjoy doing, and industrial is just where I found myself enjoying life the most. I like the tenants. I like the how they're structured. I like how they perform in up and down markets. And I'm a mentor here at eXp Commercial as well. I love helping people grow and do deals. That's a really big part of my time through the week is mentoring newer agents coming over. So really excited to be here, and we love doing this. And we just want to create more like of a community feel to where you guys feel comfortable like talking to us about challenges and bringing up deals that you're working on and collaborate on in real life, like stuff that you're working on. And that's actually something that we'll talk about in a minute, is this deal share form that I got pulled up. But that's it for me.
Peace to you then. I love you, David. Frankie, are you out there?
Oh, I'm right here.
Yes.
Okay. Kind of mess with my camera. You can see my chair through my filter. It's kind of bugging me, but I'm here.
There you are. Excellent. So Frankie, tell us a little bit about yourself. So you are also a vice chair on the eXp Commercial Industrial Committee. Tell us how you got started and a little bit about how you specialize in industrial real estate.
So I've always found industrial to be just my intentional focus, and I've gotten pulled away doing office investments, hotels, whatever we're working on. But that was always my end goal, and finally have, in the last couple of years, have had a couple good consistent clients. Got one big client nationwide right now, and partnering with Pam Jungi, my lovely aunt. She's also my aunt. So she's been raising me and dealing with me in business for several years. But just absolutely loving it. Love eXp Commercial and the tools that it provides, and definitely excited to provide you guys any resources and stats and any questions you guys have. We're here to help.
Tell them a little bit about your, you have I don't want to call him a golden ticket client because it makes it sound like,
That's what I call it. It's my, yeah.
clients are nothing but like, money makers. But the truth of the matter is that, we do this for a living. This is how we pay our bills and we feed our families. And if you can specialize in an asset class and you really understand it from soup to nuts, start to finish, and how that company needs to operate, they can become lifelong clients that can continually feed your income. So tell us a little bit about your lifelong client, how they operate, what they do, how you've integrated yourself into their company as a vital role of their success.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can look different every time, right? It's all relationship. So however you got that relationship, if it was at the inception of the business or down the line, this one happened to be more down the line. A gentleman owned and operated this business for over 2 decades, kind of a smaller shop, and then just happened to get this amazing 50-state contract with one of the biggest retailers. And, they pretty much said, how fast can you occupy all 50 states? And so we're helping him in every single state, multiple markets in each state, first leasing, and then he'll be purchasing. So numerous transactions. So that's one example of a client that's, for 20 years was very just, handful of leases, but all of a sudden we have 10 states a quarter to occupy.
Rack up them Amex points. Flying around.
Well, and then the fun thing is that, we can actually do that more successfully with eXp Commercial because we have license portability in a lot of the states.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes things a little bit easier for us. So that's definitely more difficult to do when you're not with a company like eXp Commercial.
Yeah,
so
with eXp, you'd pretty much have no control over the transaction. With our setup, you not only get paid significantly more, if not all of it, you get to be in control of the transaction and the client and everything. So it's a lot more efficient.
Yeah, so it's become a lot more beneficial for you personally. And not only that, your client doesn't have to deal with different agents and brokers in each state. So
exactly. And we can still use them if needed for a showing or whatever. And obviously we're happy to pay them, but it's not absolutely necessary.
Excellent.
What are you doing in the states where you don't have portability?
It just is some version of a partnership versus a referral. Ultimately, at the very minimum, it'd be a referral in commission wise, but I'd still be, depending on the agent, I'd still be sourcing all the properties and securing all the leases, especially for now, because commercial leases are a lot more lenient with license portability laws. A lot of them are actually kind of nonchalant or non-existent. But with the purchases, that is definitely going to be when you got to bring in a lot more.
Yeah, I'm dealing with that. I got a referral from Alabama and it's been a nightmare because the broker doesn't want to let go of it. And North Carolina's got really strict rules. It's a little different. I'm working with Leah Parker. She knows her shit. It's like,
oh, I love Leah. She's amazing. She definitely knows.
She's my advisor. I was gonna go with Javen, but I ended up with Leah. She's a girl. I'll let Javen too. He said he'll work with me. But this guy does not want to, basically it needs to be a referral because I had the initial call with the client and they want to buy. They're leasing, they want to buy. And he doesn't want to sign anything. He's on a flip phone. He's an old style broker. Keith is taking care of him, Keith Andrews. He won't sell anything from Skyslip. Anyway, it's a nightmare because they're buying and they have to be represented here. He has to get his license in North Carolina, that foreign license, and he won't do that. So the client can't do any work here. They can't buy anything here unless they work with a broker.
There's definitely more stricter states than others, that's for sure.
Yeah, let me work with you if you come here. I'll be good.
Absolutely.
And I do think, Frankie, what you said is really, really prominent. Something to understand is there is a huge difference between the mentality of how the broker or the agent's role is, the duties owed in a lease versus a purchase.
Absolutely.
When we represent tenants, the mentality a lot of the time is we're just referring that tenant to the landlord. and there's really no duties owed or representation is the thought process. At least that's how it is in Nevada. If it's different in your states, let us know. But we're also finding that while we represent this client in leasing in other states. So like Frankie said, leasing is a little bit easier. And let's be honest, some of your leasing contracts and commissions are larger than purchases. So they're not irrelevant by any means whatsoever. If you are in commercial real estate, you want to be doing some leasing.
Oh, yeah. And in this case, what's listed, they could look at what's listed, but he's in the dark ages. This dude that's working out of Alabama, he doesn't even know how to look up listed properties. So I'm sending him those because he hasn't signed anything, but he won't co-broke or he wants me to send him the properties. But the properties he's going to buy, because Charlotte, you know this, Jabin, is so expensive. He's downtown Charlotte. There's no way he'll find anything under $1 million for what he needs. So I'm going to go off market, and that's a lot of work. It's not easy. You know, Jabin, it's a lot of work. And I'm on it. I want to do it, but I'm not doing it without an exclusive right to represent him. You know, I can't do that.
I agree. And every situation is going to be a little bit different, right?
Yep.
So now if you guys will give me 1 second, what we're going to do is we're going to actually read our mission. Want you to understand our goals and our intentions. So bear with me 1 second.
Got it. I can.
You got it there, David?
Yeah.
Will you read it for us?
Yeah. So our committee is focused on bringing together industry leaders who are interested. Well, actually, no, that's that's a different version.
What are we doing, David?
That was the old version that we.
Can you put one together for next time that we can see on the screen?
Yeah, no, I'll pull it. I'll show you. Unless Pam's working on it here.
Nope, it's all you now, Jabin.
Awesome.
You got to make up a new one on the spot. Let's hear it.
There we go. Yeah, no, we had a couple different versions we were working on, so yeah. All right. Here, let me pull this up for you guys. So, all right. Our committee is dedicated to bringing together brokers, investors, and industry leaders to share the latest national trends and best practices in the world of industrial real estate. We lead monthly meetings where members can share summaries of deals, discuss upcoming events, and connect with others in the industry. We encourage collaboration among our members, including agent attraction and events, as well as suggestions for topics related to education and training. By sharing knowledge and collaborating with one another, we will continue growing and achieving as industry professionals. In addition, we provide valuable insights into upcoming events and speakers that are specific to the industrial product type. These events and speakers provide our members with access to information that aids in maintaining a competitive edge in the market, helping them stay at the forefront of the evolving industry we operate in. To ensure productive and effective meetings, we ask that members submit a one-page summary of their deal prior to submitting. That's basically just a deal share that we're going to go remit. For our deal share section, to ensure productive and effective meetings, we ask that members share a one-page summary of the deal prior to meeting and speak on it as an overview, not a long pitch. So join our committee and stay up to date with the latest trends and developments in the world of industrial real estate. So I will actually copy this as well so you can just see it and have it and understand what it is that we do. And speaking of that, we can go ahead and pop up the deal share if you guys want to go over that.
Maybe you can put it in our workplace files, something.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, do all of you guys know that we do have a workplace group? And so what I'll do is I'll put the link in the chat, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be sending out invitations from there. And following company procedures, we're not allowed to send an invitation to anybody who's not a part of our group. So if you do want to hear from us and you do want to have quick access to things like the deal share, asking us questions, go ahead and join our workplace page so that we can send you invitations and things like that.
Beautiful. Let's see. Yeah, I would love to, Pam, I can go ahead and go over this deal share.
All right. Do you have access to the screen?
Yep, I'm going to share it real quick just to go over it with you guys. All right. Desktop 2. Okay. Let me pull this up. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
All right, so deal sharing. So one thing, an idea that Pam, Frankie, and I had for this committee is we'd love to create a deal share form. I'm going to just kind of read this for you so you understand what it is. So, deal sharing submission form is a tool designed for members to easily and efficiently share information about real estate deals they're involved in. This form includes important criteria such as the member's name and years of commercial real estate, location, subtype of the deal, or their what process or what part of the transaction they're in. Basically, members are asked to provide a brief financial analysis of the deal, including key metrics such as cap rate, internal rate of return. Basically, the primary details of your deal are going to be added into this form, and then we're going to be able to share it live on the committee and discuss it to help get exposure. And it could be an internal deal, something off market you're working on. It could be a deal that you're actually trying to find a buyer for, or find a tenant, or have someone pick holes in. That's something that I personally am looking forward to. Is if I'm going to try to put together a couple like off market deals that I'm looking at buying, and then go over my numbers, and I want to share it with you guys to pick holes in potentially. But basically, you just put in your email, your number, your name, years of experience, the location, the subtype of property is, if it's for lease, is it for sale, what part of the transaction are you in, like what stage of the transaction you're in to give us context, some basic financial analysis, which you can actually upload your files here through Drive, NOI, P&Ls, lease terms, cap, asking rate, cash on cash, IRR. Depending on if you don't know what any of that means, then or you're still in the right place, we can help you with that too. And then again, just like a deal summary, right? It's kind of like a couple lines. Boom, here it is. Here's what it is, and then an additional page for attachments. Once you upload all of this, we'll be able to get it and review it, and then we can actually put together a little package and share it live with you guys on the committee. So we're actually looking forward to this, and this is something we want to implement moving forward. Wouldn't you guys agree?
I love it. I think it's so valuable.
That's good.
So just to clarify, so the ideas we shared in here and discuss, have everybody's input into how to do better and improve. Is that right?
I didn't say that one more time.
Because so we'll do the deal share in this format. Is that right?
Correct.
That's how you submit your deals, and then we'll talk about them in the meeting.
Correct.
I was gonna say I can't wait till we get our first deal done.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be really cool.
And like Jabin said, depending on where you're at in the deal, maybe you want to do a deal share just because you need to understand the analytics of it better, right? Like it's our job to present to our clients whether something is a good investment or not. What is the best price for this property? Does this property work for them and their entire investment strategy? Everybody has a different investment strategy, whether you're a long-term holder, whether you're a business owner, whether you're just looking to place some 1031 money, or looking for streams of income, owner user, non-owner user. There's a million different investment strategies, right? So, and there is a buyer out there for every property. But don't be intimidated by, like, please don't say, oh, I don't know what IRR means. I don't know how to calculate internal rate of return. That's what we're here for. So like, don't let that stop you from deal sharing, because maybe that's why you deal share. Maybe you're looking to help a buyer purchase an industrial property. You're not quite sure if it, what the financial metrics add up to. Don't let that stop you. That's a perfect reason to share that deal with us, so we can support you and work through those numbers and help you figure them out, so that you can present it to your client in a more viable fashion, if you will. Or it could just be something that you're looking at for yourself. You could be looking at doing a deal yourself. How many of you have ever thrown your commission in the deal for percentage of ownership? Javen's going, yep. You might see something out there that you might be interested in getting into. Don't be afraid to do it. It's a great way to own real estate. But there's loads of reasons to do deal shares. The first deal share that I want to do with you guys, and I take a vow right now to do that, is an industrial project that we're working on. It's a ground up development. We'll end up with about 29 units. And I don't think that the buyer is necessarily in Las Vegas. These are going to be like real classy man caves, if you will. Smaller, more flex style, consumable industrial spaces and because we're in Las Vegas, and it's all about the tourism and the glitz and the glamour, I believe that, and we're right next to a private airport. I believe these units are really going to be sold to people who just fly into Vegas for certain events or to operate their business, check on their businesses, things of that nature. So, I would love to deal share that with you guys and let you guys poke holes in it and help us figure out exactly the best way to market it, So I think that we're going to have a lot of fun with that aspect of the committee.
Hey Pam, quick sneak peek for everybody.
There
That's
she is.
And I think Dawn's in the waiting room. She was texting us.
Oh, I let her in a minute ago.
Oh.
Sorry.
No, you might have. I just didn't see her.
I want to see this. I like this. This is a good, cool concept.
So, and I apologize. I thought I let you in a while ago. Are you with us now? I think she's in. I think we're good.
So we're not like putting the details of who our clients are in this.
So here's what I want you to know. This is all confidential, and no, you shouldn't put the clients of your details or anything like that, right? This is a general overview of the metrics and the content and the context of your deal so that we can support you. Don't put client names or addresses. We don't want to be responsible for that, but to be honest with you, we don't need that. It's important to understand where the property is located as far as like a market or a sub-market, so that if we need to run metrics and stats on that market, we know exactly where to garner them. You know what I mean? If you're in a larger market like Dallas, it's going to be
the basic MSA information.
Just basic information, and what I was going to say, like if you're in a larger market like Dallas, please at least give us a zip code, because let's face it, Dallas is like bigger than most countries. So you have different metrics within different areas of Dallas, especially if it's like a multifamily style situation. But so hopefully that answers your question. Does anybody have any questions about what we do or how we function or how we can support you? Because that's really what we wanted to get. Really what we wanted to convey.
Not all at once. And we're just doing a fantastic job of conveying our message to the crowd.
I have a question. Hi, everyone. My name is Vu. I'm in Chattanooga.
Ooh.
I was wondering if you have any advice for us on how we can partner with other agents in other states and how we need to be careful about that when we're starting off with that venture.
I'll take that one. No matter what you do or who you partner with, it's all going to end up being on the liability of that state licensed broker, depending on the state laws, but ultimately it's going to be on that state licensed broker. So you'll need a license portability co-broker agreement. It's in SkySlope with that broker. You can make relationships and work partnerships and referrals and co-brokering with any agent, even with eXp Realty, it's promoted if, that's a possibility. But again, ultimately that broker is going to be on the hook. So the more agents you bring on, that's at your discretion. I ultimately just go to the broker, but the biggest thing is before you do anything, go to each broker, let them know what's going on, and then they'll give you the rules, regulations, anything to look out for.
Awesome. Thanks, Frankie.
So, Frankie, it would be helpful if you described the difference between co-brokering.
Sorry, Carol, I think Erica, did you have something?
Yeah. Hey, Vu, I'd love to connect because I have a hotel development client that's interested in Chattanooga. I'm up in Montana, so let's talk.
We can talk. Thank you.
Carolyn, sorry,
what was that? There you go. We're building relationships and collaborating already. This is fantastic.
That's the whole point of this.
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you, but in regards to what Vu was saying, it's important to understand the difference. And maybe, Frankie, if you try to define it between co-brokering in another state, because you've got the same scenario I was talking about with the client I'm working with. Co-brokering versus referral, because the agent that is referring it to me doesn't understand the difference, nor did his statements. We don't understand it. So could you define it like from your perspective?
Again, it's going to be different in every state, right? Each state's going to have their different definitions and understanding
of what co-brokering is versus referral.
I'm answering the question. I had an answer of co-brokering, referrals, and each market, and depending on what they expect from the transaction. But again, ultimately, it's going to be depending on that state broker. Co-brokering for us, for inbound and outbound, it's different in every single situation. It depends on how much work you're doing, how much work they're doing, how much work the broker has to do. So it's a case by case basis.
And to your point, Frankie, has anybody actually looked at the co-brokerage agreement? There is actually a portion in that co-brokerage agreement where each agent agrees to who's handling what in the transaction. So Carolyn, have you vetted that out? I know you have a problem, you have a problem referral, co-brokerage relationship. You have a problem relationship going on. Did you guys actually complete that form that's in SkySlope that says who's doing what? And if that agreement changes, because some relationships are organic, right? So now you're dealing with somebody who's not so tech friendly and you're doing more than you bargained for, I would say that gives you right to renegotiate. If you're not following the form of who agreed to do what, then maybe the percentage is skewed now and you should go renegotiate that. But if you don't start, hey, listen, one of my favorite sayings, I'm known for stupid sayings, right? But you have to inspect what you expect. What do I mean by inspect what you expect? What are the expectations? Who's doing what? And if you can't be responsible for what you agreed to do based on the percentage that you're taking, then go have a real transparent conversation with that other agent and renegotiate the percentage. And then that way you don't have to be frustrated. The job gets done. And at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is the client getting serviced, right? So what is the best way to service that client? And the end result is a successful closed transaction. But I can't harp on it enough. The first time I ever saw that form, I felt like I was in elementary school. I was like, what is this? This is ridiculous. We should just know what our roles are. However, I've really embraced that form and I see the value in it because it gives you bumpers to understand this is my role and this is your role. These are my responsibilities. These are your responsibilities. And the minute somebody's not living up to that, have a transparent conversation or renegotiate that percentage.
I think the key is reading through the forms and understanding what they are. Leah, she was not able to articulate that even on a call with this guy. So I need to dig deeper and see if I can understand it because I'm the one doing the work, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and depending on how the state's set up, you can have a higher percentage even if it's a turf state, his license on the line. If it's a straight referral, you're doing nothing. Depending on how much, again, is in the determined agreement.
He wants half, and I'm doing everything. I'm
not talking about your deal. I'm just talking in general. Every situation is different. Each state's different. Ultimately, referrals are you refer it and you're hands off. Co-brokering, you're working together. Well, in any version of that could be all up and down 99 to 1% and vice versa. So.
Yep. So it's important to have those expectations. Okay. So if there's no other questions about us as a committee, how to reach us, I'm going to go ahead and put the link in there. And what we love to do on the webinars where we're not actually interviewing a great guest is we like to share market stats from coast to coast. If we could just hear from each of you very quickly, give us or you know what, instead of that, go ahead and put your state and your submarket in the chat for us, please. So we know exactly where we're hearing from. And I'll start with us. We are in Las Vegas, Nevada. Ooh, we got San Diego, we got Arizona, Chattanooga, St. Petersburg, Florida, Carolina, New York, New Jersey, Florida, because we're not just one state. I love it. Another San Diego, California, Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, Cornelius, North Carolina. Hey, Kate, where are you at in PA? I was born in Pittsburgh. I just got back from there. That's why I'm curious. Philly. I love it. The other side of the state. All right. So we literally are going from coast to coast, which is always the goal. I love seeing all of you guys on here. Love me some Philly. Love me some Philly steaks, but
I'm hungry.
Conversation.
Yeah.
every time I go home, it's about the food. Once I get the food out of the way, then I can see family. Lived in Germantown. I love it. So we love that we're actually representing coast to coast because we do have very different trends, right? CoStar put out an incredible article yesterday. I posted on my LinkedIn. For the third straight month in a row, Mexico has outperformed China in manufacturing. And especially for us in Las Vegas, why is that important? Well, that's an incredibly important trend for us because when you've got manufacturing happening in Mexico, we've got the I-10 now that goes directly from Mexico through Las Vegas to Canada, which is a major trucking route, right? So when you're talking industrial real estate, you're talking manufacturing, you're talking logistics. And what are logistics? Logistics are, you know, getting those goods to and from throughout the country. That's really important, especially to us here in Las Vegas, right? So that's a trend that we've had our eye on for quite a while. Why is that happening? All kinds of reasons. I think one of them is labor costs. So labor costs in Mexico are actually very favorable to manufacturing. And also because of tariffs. So, you know, in our past presidency, there were some incentives put in place to bring manufacturing back to the United States and to Mexico. And so it's pulling a lot of that business away from China, which I think is supporting our economy overall a bit. So that was a great article and a good trend for us here in this side of the world. Anything else going on that you guys are noticing in your
Pam,
area?
do you mind if I add to that? Because
Please do that.
I deal with a bunch of developers, and one is in particular is developing on both sides of the border. And what I did not know until recently, and one of the people that's part of this is a professor at ASU. So he has a law degree here and in Mexico. So he teaches international law at ASU. So he's lived in Mexico and here for 30 years. So I've never met anyone that knows more about international law between Mexico and the United States. I don't think there is anyone that exists. But long story short, he was telling me the other day that you've got to be really careful if you're sending any manufacturing to Mexico, especially when the election is changing. Because if a whole new president comes in, and he's been there for 5 different presidents, he said that whatever contract you have in Mexico, they can just literally tear it up when the new president comes in. So people have to remember when they're dealing with a different country, it is a different country. It is not the United States. They don't have the same laws. That piece of paper we can take someone to court here in America, in Mexico, it's worthless if a different president comes in. So if you're thinking about putting somebody in Mexico or know somebody that's looking to go there, make sure that they are aware of the real laws and regulations that are happening in Mexico, because they are not the same as here.
You just got to make sure you're tight with the cartel first, and then you're good.
Get close to the border. Don't actually cross it. Just stay on our side.
Exactly.
No, I love that, Beth. Thanks for sharing that because it's true.
Thank you.
We do have an eXp commercial agent that has a huge portfolio, mostly medical warehouse in Mexico. He's been quietly marketing it, and I had somebody that was looking at it and was interesting because half the rent rolls were in Spanglish. And so first of all, I had to do like a lot of Google translation to figure out what I was actually looking at. That would be a great case study for this group, by the way. And then the interesting thing is that every single one of those leases were paid in United States dollars, except for one small lease that was actually paid in pesos, which actually made that portfolio a lot stronger. The fact that it was paid in dollars. So everything is different the minute you cross the border. And listen, we are in 26 countries right now, eXp Commercial. So something like that, I would never attempt to do anything like that without having a really astute broker on my side helping me navigate that deal in Mexico. Somebody who understands exactly what you're talking about, Beth. That's the reason.
And even the United States, I mean, none of us, we all think that we can go to another state and broker a deal, which we all can. but we all are not doing it, you know, the proper thing for our client by doing that. So I really think that unless you know that state really well, you know, partner up with somebody, because it's not right for me to go into, like, I don't know where she was from, Carolinas or whatever, and try to do a deal. I don't know that market, you know? So even if you're cutting somebody in at a smaller percentage, whatever, I just think that everyone needs to keep that in mind, because, you know, you got to do what's best for your client when it's all said and done.
Exactly. It's all about the client. And and I think and Beth, I love that you're saying that. I do think there are some exceptions, right? Like, so if you're representing,
Absolutely. So absolutely. I'm not saying all the time. I'm just
no,
saying,
no,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
here's the, like, if you're representing a client that already owns a lot of real estate in that state, or leases a lot of real estate in that state, they're probably, or that submarket, they might even, like, they have more experience on it than you. They're doing all their own internal calculations because they don't have to go to CoStar. They've already got the data themselves because of the property that they own. It's a little different, but yes,
Definitely.
there's exceptions to every rule. However, really, really good points.
Yeah,
Does
so I
anybody else?
totally agree. I mean, like 99% of the time, you should refer it or give it away to somebody in the other state. I mean, for me, in my instance, I don't know if you heard my whole spiel about our client, but it's one specific product type. It's the same exact needs, the same exact amenities on each location. So it's a little bit different in that regard. But no, I totally agree. Like if it was any other product type or something, I would be referring it all day long.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. Like the situation dictates it. But, you
Right.
know, to the one lady's point, there are people out there that's like, come on, guys, just, give up some of the money and do the best thing for the client, right? You know?
Absolutely.
And
At the
and I
end of
know
the day, oh, I'm sorry, Beth. At the end of the day, you both end up actually closing a transaction and making money versus trying to do the whole entire thing yourself, not knowing exactly what you're doing, and possibly having a failed transaction because of that, right? Don't walk over nickels to try and make dimes. It never works.
But it's so get the focus off yourself when you do it and look at the company overall. It reflects really badly on eXp to the client if we mess it up between ourselves. So doing the right thing for the client is also helping lift the whole company and everybody else. That's how
You
I
have
see
to
it.
educate your client too. State laws are state laws, can't break those.
So we have a question on here from, it keeps getting moved. Hold on one second. We have a question on here from Dusty. Interested to know how often industrial specialists here find their leases are a mishmash that you have to fix before listing. I would assume what you're asking, and Dusty, come on in and chat with us about this. Possibly if you have like a multi-tenant industrial building and the leases are all kind of a mishmash, and how would you fix that before you list the property? I don't think you can fix it. I think the leases remain intact. But Dusty, are you out there? You want to chime in? Or does anybody else want to speak to that? If Jabin or Frankie, do you guys have anything about that?
I mean that the attorneys are going to fix it,
Yeah.
I mean, don't worry about it.
What mishmash? What I want to
Say
make
that
sure.
again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I want to make sure I'm understanding the question.
I'm going to read the question one more time. Interested to know how often industrial specialists here find their leases are a mishmash and that you have to fix before listing.
Okay, got it. Got it.
Oh,
I have had a few instances where I've had to get, things amended, but that's like very rare. And if it does happen, it's just something I kind of, cross that bridge when you get there. I've like literally only had that happen twice.
yeah.
Can you give us the circumstance? What was the
So
circumstance?
basically, this wasn't actually for an industrial lease, but it was for like a multi-tenant investment, triple net investment property, and there was a restaurant in there, and they had like a percentage, a sales percentage of sales that was in the lease that they originally had signed with the landlord, and that was not being, I guess, it wasn't they weren't doing it right. And then when we went to give them a estoppel to sign, and like, oh yeah, you've got your, and like, oh whoa, that's not, we haven't been doing that. Well, okay, well, what are you doing? And then we had to go and get the lease amended, and that was the closest scenario that I've had to that happening, where an attorney kind of had to get involved and review and say, okay, well, what are you doing exactly? Let me see it, and then let's fix it to line up with that, because they were about to sign an estoppel, and then we were under the impression we're getting a percentage of their sales. And yeah, I've never had that happen on an industrial lease where it's like all screwed up.
I think what I find is most common in the industrial asset class is that, you've got a company that has managed these properties for a long time, especially if you're going into, some of these larger industrial developments. And so typically the leases are the same, is really what we find most common. But does that mean you, and again, inspect what you expect, because until you read all the leases, you don't know that. So great question. Now, Jabin, you brought up an estoppel. So I just think it's a great learning moment. It's a great learning moment for anybody out there that doesn't know what an estoppel is, or how an estoppel operates, or why it's so important in a transaction. So can you speak on that for a second?
Yeah, so an estoppel, the easiest way to explain it is an estoppel is basically affirming and transferring the lease from, one ownership to another, quote unquote, and affirming that the tenant's saying, yes, this is what we signed, this is what we agreed to, and I'm not going to come back and what's the word I'm looking for? Accuse you of, or accuse somebody of agreeing to something that's not right here. Like, hey, this is the lease we signed. I agreed to it. Here's an estoppel saying that I did agree to this, and this is what we're on the same page. And then that way, when the property transfers, a lot of times the lender requires it. Any smart buyer and any smart broker would require it as well. And it's just a way to kind of ensure that those terms are being transferred over, and there's no verbals, kind of sidebar conversations, no accusations that can come up, afterwards, after closing. Well, we Zelled him 18 grand, and he said he was gonna fix the the roof leak or something, like that. It's just, that's what's there, so.
Give you a great example how an estoppel actually saved one of my clients. Was that we sent out all the estoppels, and what happens is the tenant fills it out saying, yep, this is my rent, yada yada yada. So the estoppels come back, and we compare it to the leases that the seller actually submitted to us for review, and several of them were different. The tenants were saying they paid less rent than the lease actually called for. So then, of course, that gives us reason to question, well, what the seller forgot to do was they forgot to supply us with the amendments to those leases that reduced rent. So that changes everything. That changes all the financial metrics in the transaction. That changes your cash flow. That changes your cap rate. That changes your net operating income. It changes everything, right? So it's a way to flush out that the information you're receiving from the seller is true and accurate and correct, and that the tenant is on the same page,
That's actually a part of a deal. When you're doing investment sales, that's something that could be a major sticking point in a deal closing, is working, especially if it's a multi-tenant facility, going and getting estoppels from all those tenants prior to closing. Like, that's a real due diligence item that can be tricky to perform on.
To sum it up, it's the tenant confirmation of the pre-existing lease terms. So you hear it from the agent, it's verbalized from the owner, but this is what confirms it from the tenant's perspective.
Mm-hmm. I love it. So anyway, sorry to get off a topic. I just thought that was a great teachable moment, because estoppels are undervalued in my opinion. Does anybody else see any trends going on? Anything going on back east for any of you that are in Pennsylvania or Florida? What are you guys seeing in the industrial market? Any trends worthy of speaking about?
I actually had a question about that same topic you guys were talking about. So aren't most of these properties going to be really professionally managed So isn't it important for us to have that, really build that relationship with that property manager to then assist us with that lease transfer?
Yes and no, absolutely. If it is property managed, and there is a large number of that, but depending on what your strategy is for leads, we call owner users all the time, and some smaller mom and pop multi-tenant, whether it's industrial, office, or whatever, whatever that threshold is for them, 5-10 units, sometimes they'll still keep it on owner managed. We have a it's basically a 5 or 6 unit right now that's all owner managed and should be property managed because it's big enough, but you never know, you might run into the owner users.
Sure.
But absolutely.
I'm the mom and pops. I'm like, hey, I need to get in Stopples. Stopples? What's in a stop?
That's how you get deals done, though, man. When you're, a solo agent out here, especially starting out. It's
Sure.
It
I remember
sounds like
when
an Italian something.
what's
What
that?
was that, Karen?
It sounds like food to me. For somebody that doesn't know what it is.
I can't understand you. I'm sorry.
You're garbled a little bit. You have a little bit of a bad connection.
I apologize. It's my wages. I just said some people don't. I mentioned it to a couple of business owners and they asked me if it was food. I'm like, no, it's legal.
That's great. And back to that property management, that is a case by case, you know what I'm saying? Because if you're representing like a whale of a client, they're probably going to want to bring in their own property management company because they don't want to deal with multiple different companies. They want to deal with somebody who understands their needs and wants and contracts and temperament. You know what I mean? So again, that's just a case by case situation, but these are all great points. At the end of the day, it's just knowing your client, right? If you're dealing with a smaller buyer who's not bringing that type of vendor relationship with them, then yeah, you really want to become really good friends with that property manager and hope that they're going to stay in the transaction on the deal. But here's another thing. So property managers have contracts, right? Do those contracts typically expire, terminate, or at the sale of a property, or do they remain with the property for the duration? And does the buyer have to assume that contract?
That depends.
Right? These are all things.
Unless predetermined in the lease agreement.
Exactly. Again, another case by case situation, right?
Majority of the time, though, it will survive the sale.
And a lot of times these properties might be distressed for a reason. That's why they're putting it up for sale. And so we have to work with these managers that maybe have not been doing a great job. Let's be honest, right? For some of them, for many of them.
Are you finding distressed, excuse me, are you finding distressed industrial in your area?
They're there. So as we know, management varies all across the board. So we see a lot of variation in how well they're being managed.
So in Las Vegas, and Frankie, you could speak to this too, and then Jabin, you let us know. We have two kinds of industrial right now. We have older, like 40-year-old industrial. It was like the dirty, ugly, blemished industrial, and it probably has like smaller, shorter roll-up doors. It doesn't have the height capacity that we have right now. It doesn't have the technology that's built into it. These properties are definitely trading for a lot less, but we have we have millions of square feet of new industrial, right? So I think when you talk about any asset class, there's sectors in it, right? Like I don't like the generalization of conversations, especially when it comes to the office market. Now, we all know that, there's sectors of the office market that are struggling just because of, cultural shifts and changes through COVID and people working from home and other reasons. But our Class A brand new office market space, it gets pre-leased before it's even built.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, people ask like, how's the office market? And I'm like, I just closed on an office development for a client's HQ. How's your office?
100%, right? So, that's why I'm questioning, are you finding distressed? Because we're finding a little, I don't even want to call it distressed. It's still turning over. In Las Vegas, we have a 3% vacancy factor in our industrial market, Jabin, what's your vacancy factor right now?
Mid fours. Frankie,
Mid fours?
I really don't
Does,
know.
does anyone else off the top of your head know what your vacancy factor is? You can either jump in or put it in the chat. I would love to hear. I'm not seeing anything out there, but you know, and the truth of the matter is, here was a great stat that we just learned from a CCIM meeting the other day about Las Vegas, is that I think we have like, you know, over 2 million square feet of industrial being built right now. And if not 1 square foot of that got leased, and we had just an additional flood of 2 million vacant square feet in Las Vegas, it would move our vacancy factor to 5%. That's astounding to me. Astounding. You know, and the truth of the matter is that based on consumption, I don't see that happening at all whatsoever. Las Vegas and Nevada in and of itself is very business friendly and very consumer friendly. So we're still seeing a lot more businesses move and expand here, but we're sitting at 3%. And even if we never leased a single square foot of it, it would only move the needle to 5%. It's pretty significant, right? I think I love industrial real estate. This is the time to be in it.
I was just on the Southeast Regional meeting. I don't know if you can.
Does anybody understand? Or is it just me?
No, it's just,
I can't. For connection.
You can't hear me now? It was, Cliff Bogart put this slide together about industrial. I was just on mute.
Here you go. Here's all the large markets and industrial. We got Watertown, Fort Drum in New York, taking it at a 0% vacancy rate. Santa Fe, New Mexico, we knew that. I didn't know it was 99.9. Iowa, North Dakota, Pennsylvania, Washington, Yuma, Brunswick. Now we're
all
just
right. So when we finally break the threshold of 1%, we get into Eugene, Oregon.
Toronto 1.2, Glen Falls.
I think I saw Montana in there.
1%.
Minnesota. Approaching 2%.
Montana.
I can't believe that. 1.5, 2.2. Albany. We actually, no wonder we actually have a client trying to sublease a listing up in there.
You know,
Now you know why you're not
awesome.
finding anything.
The fact that like this is so exciting. I think we're officially nerds. This is great.
Exactly, right? Topeka, Kansas, another target area for us.
I'm loving this. If we can do more live action of stuff, yeah, I'm here for it.
Yes.
For live calculations and everything, yeah.
Oh yeah, we did this the first couple of times. We didn't have as much people, but it's definitely fun.
Wait.
Oh,
so
you just
check
passed
it
Las
out.
Vegas.
And Chattanooga. And Missoula.
Chattanooga, Orange County, Fresno.
You don't hear me.
So for the sake of time and being responsible with you guys, and I know everybody has busy lives, we only have 3 more minutes. So there's a couple things that, you know, are really poignant right now to talk about this. Like in my experience, 36 years in real estate, like this is not a normal market. Like these stats do not make normal, right? Like we are so tight on product. So I think that the only thing I can suggest, if you're looking for a buyer or a tenant, you got to go off market. Like if you're in Oregon, if you're in one of these places with no vacancy, you got to start utilizing the resources and the tools that we have and go off market and find these properties. Now more than ever, start building relationships with people, and you have access to all of that information is the great news. The other thing is that I lost my train of thought. Don't know.
Well, hey,
Because I'm looking at these charts and loving them.
My bad, I forgot I was still
mesmerizing us.
pretty cool.
Yeah, you're still live, Frankie. But yeah, you know, honestly, go off market. And how many of you hate making cold calls?
I don't know if I can say I hate it.
Anybody raised your hand? Just change your mindset.
Yes.
Wake up in the morning, say I love cold calls 10 times in a row, and get after it.
I love cold calls.
I love cold calls.
Exactly.
You know what we should do? We should do a cold call mastermind. We've done this before. Just get on Zoom together, everybody mute, and just start making cold calls. Put questions in the
Great
chat.
idea.
Get hung up on, we're going to all clap for you. On to the next. You know why? Because behind every several no's is a yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. Just like celebrate the no's, get past them all. You're on your way to a yes. You'll start building relationships. I despise cold calls. Frankie's like the Britney Spears of cold calls. He loves them. He gets into them. He thinks it's great. But you know, at the end of the day, it's a great way to find inventory for your clients when you're in one of these areas or looking in one of these areas with no vacancy. You know, you can't just put information into, you know, a syndicated portal and set up a flash and hope you're going to find a space for your client in this climate. It is not going to happen. This is where you got to make the deal happen. You've got to make it rain, right?
Yep.
So think outside the box.
Even in normal markets, 80% of the deals are off market. So even more so now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I forgot to put the link for our committee in workplace in the chat. So I'm going to do that. Jabin and Frankie, if you have anything in closing.
Yes, I have an 8 o'clock. Love everybody. Have a great day. Go sell something.
Thank you.
You guys, this is great. Looking forward to collaborating.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Hang on.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Pam, for everything, and Jabin.
Thank you, guys.
See ya.
Thank you for hosting.
I put the notes I was trying to share in the chat.
Yep. Hang on one second. If you want to, please connect with us on our workplace page. There it is. So for everybody still on here, go ahead and click that link and join the page, and we'll start sending you invitations and reminders. It's the only way we're allowed to contact you through procedures through eXp. If you join the page, we can actually email you links and reminders when we have events coming up. And I hope to see all you guys in my hometown at eXpCon. We're going to do an in real life. We're going to do an eXp commercial in real life on the 6th. So if you're coming down, save the date. Bye, everyone. Have a great one.